We're now about to go live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live.
89.5 WSKB.
From the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Noble Hospital, a brand new name for a Westfield institution which is improving the health of our community every day with quality and compassion. Noble Hospital and Bay State Health, better together.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
George Jones, George Burns, George Bush, George Benson, George C. Scott, George Reeves, George Wallace, George Hallis, George Washington, George Washington.
All right.
Carver,
We've all heard it before.
George Jefferson.
That music means
George Jefferson.
it's Monday by George. By George, it's Monday. George Delisle here with Pete Coles at the controls, Amanda Brodkin, and our guest this week from the Springfield Republican, we've got Fred Gore, America's sweetheart.
I told you when I'm bored, I'm leaving.
Tremblay. Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep you engaged over here, Fred. So, how was everyone's weekend? Did we have fun?
I sure had fun. Did you
had
have fun?
Yeah,
I did.
you and I had fun. Fred had pain.
I had pain.
Yeah. Fred was working all weekend. Fred covered all of the
road race.
Yeah, the monumental events
The monumental.
in Holyoke.
I had to go to the mall for the first time in like months and months and months, and I roll past the side entrance to Holyoke Community. I see a sea of green running down the street. I'm like,
Ruh-roh.
I hope I can make a right-hand turn at this intersection. Otherwise, I'm going to be slightly annoyed.
Poor planning, Peter.
Wow.
How about Hope? How was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. This was the first year though I didn't partake in too many St. Patrick festivities.
What is too many?
Well, my kids had their first communion retreat, so we spent Saturday morning doing that kind of stuff. So it was fun.
First communion retreat.
Communion.
Things have changed since I was 6 years old.
Do you have twins? Were they both going?
No, second and third grade.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Amanda and I
but
were
we did
at
have
the,
corned beef.
Well, of course. You know, it's the high holies. You have to have corned beef.
Yes.
Oh, see, I didn't
Yeah.
boil it. I smoked up corned beef.
You smoked it. Well, that's probably great.
Yeah, it was much better than a boiled.
It
It wasn't stringy. It
Was
was
that a traditional Irish smoking process that you used?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it
I
counts
did.
then.
I
You
did
used-
try to smoke a cabbage though. That was an interesting process.
That might have been not bad.
Really weird.
No, well, according to the recipe, it didn't come out. I didn't think I smoked it long enough. But you core out the whole inside. You make a bowl, and you put bacon and onions in there, and it kind of bastes the whole thing.
I had a picture of you shredding the cabbage and stuffing it into a pipe.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, I'm smoking cabbage over here.
They haven't legalized that kind of stuff yet. You know, when you run
Yeah,
out of the
right,
first kind, you
right.
smoke whatever you got.
You're taking the fifth, though, Pete. You're not saying you have or have not smoked a cabbage in that method.
When he was 12 years old, he tried to smoke everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
One leaf at a time. Amanda and I were at the Kiwanis New England and Bermuda Midwinter Conference over the weekend.
I believe it was it the 100th?
No.
It was not the 100th?
No,
Not the 100th conference.
Our 100th anniversary, the 100th anniversary of the district is, I believe, in next November. So this will be the 100th conference this in August.
Okay.
All right, so it'll be the 100th district convention, and it should be very interesting because there's an awful lot of really interesting planning going on.
There were a couple of interesting people there, too. So
Well, you and Adam.
we're very interesting.
That's two right there. Adam spent the entire weekend holding court in the bar with Jerry Lozo.
Oh, you told me about that. Those debates are infamous.
They are hilarious, and the best part about it is Lozo just keeps buying the most expensive booze there is for everyone at the table. So we're doing glasses of Johnny Walker Gold, which I didn't even know existed.
Existed, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's pretty good stuff,
Amanda had to drive
especially if
home.
I'm not paying for it.
Right.
Yeah. So you missed the real
I
entertainment.
did, unfortunately.
But,
I got my fill. It was a good time.
It is something you spend the weekend in Kiwanis world, which is fairly divorced from reality. Yeah,
It's divorced
like
from
we-
high fashion as well.
Well,
Let's
yes,
just put it
it
out
is.
there.
It is. That, three times a year we get together with all of our semi-sane Kiwanis friends from around New England, and it's a pretty good party.
You're not selling Kiwanis very well by saying our semi-sane friends.
Happy friends with good hearts.
How shall I say this? Truth in advertising. I don't want to shock anybody when they actually show up. So
Okay.
So here's my fun fact for today. My children bought me a 23andMe genetic testing kit.
Yes.
So you have to spit in this tube.
Yes.
And you mail it away. And I got the report yesterday. And much to my surprise,
Dun, dun, dun.
Wait a minute. We got to do the.
Give us
You're
a
not the
sound
father.
You're not your own father.
Okay, listen. The good part is I didn't come up with any non-human DNA.
There you go.
Right, so my great grandfather.
So you're not one of those sleepers among us.
Yeah.
According to the kooks out there.
Or I'm not part goat.
Or 23andMe just isn't that good yet.
Well, that could be too. They don't actually test for non-human DNA. So,
But tell us.
it
tell us.
says, well, as I expected, I'm predominantly French. I'm predominantly French and German, although the German was kind of a surprise, but it probably shouldn't be.
Well, I think they glom those together.
It's kind of all the same thing.
Because I was French and German too, and I'm almost sure I have no French ancestry.
Okay. But I came out like 25% Irish.
There you go.
And it's like, what? So
That was good news to get this weekend.
Well, I just joined the Irish Cultural Center, so now I have some.
You're legit.
You
I'm
can back
legit.
it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bo congratulated me on being 25% grade.
I saw that.
Yeah. So
I saw that.
I've done it. Have you two? Have you two done 23andMe?
I have not done that. I'm mostly Irish as far as I know. So
Fred's going to.
I don't
Fred's
believe
going to
in,
get it.
I don't even believe in it because
You don't believe in what?
I don't believe.
DNA?
Yeah. What is it? $50
Does it matter?
or whatever, and
Well, it's free if your kids pay for it.
my daughter sent something away, and I'm like, why didn't you just throw your money in the air? You know, I mean,
Because it answers questions. That's why.
you don't even know if it's real.
It answers questions you didn't even have.
You have.
I hope
There's
it's
no
real.
verification that it's actually you. There's no verification of anything. I mean,
What would satisfy that need for?
well, think about it. How
veracity?
much can you get done for $50?
Fred would have to actually see the testing in progress. I've known you for too long.
Realistically,
There was enough. There was enough there that confirmed things that I knew about from legitimate tests, because I've had genetic testing done in the past for medical reasons. There was enough correspondence there that I'm pretty confident that it was a legitimate result. Now, the bad thing for our family, my family believes that we are descended from Huron Indians, a Native American group.
Okay.
Now, take that back a step. The Hurons were essentially wiped off the face of the earth in the 1700s by the Iroquois. The Iroquois basically found all of the Hurons and killed them. There was a very small core group, or two core groups, that survived. One is outside of Quebec City in a town called Loretteville, and the other group is in Oklahoma. But you're talking about 7 or 8 generations ago. So the inbreeding with the French, the mixing with the French,
yeah. 'cause
there
you're
is
there.
very, very little of the Huron genome anywhere.
Right.
So although my great-grandfather...
How many percent?
Oh, under 1.
Oh, okay.
No, was it 2? No, 2%. 2%.
Yeah, so it's showing up.
It's there. It's there, but there's not much of it.
Right.
My great-grandfather was born on the reservation in Loretteville, but I'm sure, my father kept saying my great-grandfather is full-blooded Huron. Well, the hell he was. He was nowhere near full-blooded Huron.
Nearly impossible to do so.
And you statistically would have had a much higher percentage of native DNA, correct?
It is so diluted, even in the tribal members who live on the reservation. There's no such thing as full-blooded Huron at this point.
Well, and do those DNA tests, they wouldn't break down for Native American tribe, would they?
No.
So
There's Native American is Native American, and that's it.
You get what you get.
And it also shows, as a corollary to that, it shows a certain amount of Asia Pacific.
For you.
Well, that's because
Native Americans are from Asia
that's
Pacific.
where the Native Americans
allegedly the Bering Straits were once connected.
What's a land bridge?
It was a land bridge, yeah. That's how people came from Asia to the North American continent.
So if you have Native American DNA, you're automatically going to have a Asian component to that?
Absolutely.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, look at that. It's not even 6:15 and I'm
little history, yeah.
But my daughter...
Now I want to get it done.
Well, there you go. My daughter
easy.
Denise
Fred can get it for me because I don't want to pay.
See, Denise doesn't feel she needs to have the testing done now because Dad had it done, and the only thing she wanted to do was be part Irish.
There you go.
She's been campaigning to be part Irish since she was a kid because all of her friends were Irish. And she kept coming home and saying, Mom, Dad, why aren't we Irish? I said, I'm not sure I can buy into the group. But
apparently you did.
Apparently I did.
Yes.
See, when I did
there we
mine,
go.
I got a breakdown of, it was like 58% British, but it didn't break down Irish, Scottish,
Well, it doesn't.
English.
And it doesn't because that's like French and German. It's all the same.
So can I assume some Irish origination well?
If you're seeing British, then you can almost guarantee there's some Irish
All
in
right,
there.
I'm going to take that.
You can even claim Scott.
Oh, I'm definitely Scott.
If it's
That I
not
know.
Scottish, it's crap. Right. Don't forget that.
I know that for sure.
I can't see your real clock anymore because I'm over here. Did you fix that one?
This is
Yeah, it's
That
about
one
on
happy?
time, yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? It's 6:15. Did you get that playlist I sent you?
I did.
All right. So we're gonna start off today with some mood music before we start talking about journalism and newspapers. This is Pete Seeger, 1940 recording. No, I'm sorry. This is the Tate Gallery with a little number called Newspaper Man. Let's see what that sounds like.
Newspaper man, won't you bring me love today? Bring me some kind of message from my baby far away. She brought page news for all the world to see. Yeah, newspaper man, did she make the news today? She used to be my ever maybe only seemed like yesterday. She brought page news for all the world to see. What am I gonna do without you? What am I gonna say? How am I gonna live without you? Now you've gone away. Ain't heard nothing about you, baby. Send me news today. I'm begging. Newspaper man, will you bring me love today? Bring me some kind of message from my baby far away. She brought page news for all the world to see. Yeah, newspaper man, you got to give me some love today. Bring me some kind of message from my baby far away. She brought page news for all the world to see. What am I gonna do without you? What am I gonna say? How am I gonna live without you? Now you've gone away. What am I gonna do without you? What am I gonna say? How am I gonna live without you? Now you've gone away. What am I gonna do without you? What am I gonna say? How am I gonna live without you? Now
Support for community programming on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. Visit bettsplumbing.com or 14 Coleman Avenue, Westfield. Public welcome.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Placek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly. Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Hey, good Monday morning. George Delisle here with Pete Coles and Amanda Brodkin and Fred Gore and Hope Tremblay, and we're talking about, so far, pretty much nothing. But that's okay. We're going to fix that. It's Monday. It is.
We're easing into it.
I don't know. I should have been, by God, it's Monday, or, oh, damn, it's Monday, or I don't know. We need to change the title.
Talk to Plas.
I'll talk to Plas. No.
It's his doing.
If I talk to Plas, I'll end up with another job.
Right, yeah.
So, you got to be careful.
When I hear Harry Rock knocking at my door, I try to avoid it now.
Oh, we had Harry as a speaker at Kiwanis this past week, and I just warned everybody, don't make eye contact. Whatever you do, don't make eye contact.
He was introduced at the St. Patrick's Day breakfast for the chamber, and it was like a motivational speech. He only had 2 minutes.
Harry had 2 minutes?
Everybody had 2 minutes. New chamber members, 2 minutes.
Wow.
And it was fairly entertaining.
I'm sure it was. What can he do in 2 minutes? Probably a lot.
Ask anybody that was there.
Okay.
What did he do at Kiwanis? I was not there for that meeting.
Oh, he talked to us about the 350th and a little bit about the city's history and
I heard
how
there
we
might
got
be
here.
Talk about a float.
There's been talk about a Kiwanis float.
That would be awesome.
Brad is absolutely determined. Brad Casson is determined we're having a Kiwanis float.
Oh, I'm totally on board with that.
It's going to have root beer and ice cream. No, it'll be very nice.
Very
Supposedly, I've already been volunteered to be a DJ in the parade and broadcasting live, and then by the reviewing stand while everybody else comes by. I'm like, okay.
You've been volunteered.
Yes. I was told I was doing this. Yes.
Lucky you. Wow.
So we're a year out from that celebration. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just about.
14 months?
A little bit more than a year.
May 19th?
May 19th. Yep, that weekend.
Yeah, Brad and Denise are planning some colossal papier-mâché K or
Phenomenal.
some crazy thing. Anyway, so it's been, it's been 30 years since I was a beat reporter. It was a long time ago. I covered the city. I covered Enfield, Connecticut at the beginning of my career, and then I covered Chicopee for 3 years. And I did Cops in Court for a year in Springfield before I got my consumer column, which ate up all my time for 15 years. So it's been a while since I've done what you folks do on a daily basis, and I imagine it's changed a bit. So what are the challenges, Hope? What's it like being and you're freelance?
I am.
You are, which is because
it's kind of the way of
times have changed.
These days.
Times have changed, and we're. It saddens me that we don't have the kind of full-time permanent reporting staff that newspapers had when I was a young man.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
I know.
Not even TV.
Does.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I walked in at 19 years old and was hired as a full-time reporter right then and there, and I was at the newspaper for 46 continuous joy-filled years. And it's tough when you're trying to do this on a per story basis, and it just adds an element to it that I didn't have to deal with. But how does that affect you as a reporter? How does it affect the way you approach your job?
You have to really set your priorities, which can be tough because there's so many important things happening at the same time, sometimes literally at the same time, and it's just me. So I have to decipher, go through agendas and say, okay, what is the bigger audience interested in?
Mm-hmm.
What do people care about right at this moment, and try to capture that, and then make some phone calls and try and play tag to get the rest of the information.
So, Hope, as a freelancer, are you taking assignments that are being offered to you, or are you going and saying, this is what I'd like to cover, I'm going to write this article, or a little of both maybe?
A little bit of both. Not very many assignments, though. It's really, I'm the primary reporter for Westfield.
So you're driving your own
Southwick.
schedule?
Yes. Yep.
Because I know what happens is if they've got something they want covered and they know you're not available, that's when I get a phone call. Like,
yeah,
hey,
they'll send me and say, hey, can you get to this or not?
Right.
And most of the time I can. If I can't, George,
when
George is my backup.
When George gets a call, Hope can't come. So I guess we'll call you George.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I've actually made it pretty clear to them that I don't want an assignment that Hope and or Fred can do. I'm not trying to make a living here.
Gotcha.
They're trying to make a living. So I'm not at all interested in taking work away from other folks.
Makes sense.
I'm happy to be the backup. I'm also happy to get paid to write the Kiwanis story I was going to write anyway.
Got it.
Yeah,
You were there.
Yeah, I'm
know it.
going to write it anyway. So, like the advance on the TV auction, Cynthia Simison called and said, "You're going to write it anyway, so get it in by this date so we can pay you." I said, "Yeah, okay, that seems fair."
Now, Hope, you're a
No.
writer. Fred,
Yes.
do you do writing and photography?
I have to do
He dabbles.
a little bit of writing because if I don't have a reporter there, usually my stuff will go into a gallery, and I'll have to write something so people know what the gallery's all about.
Okay. So gallery being the...
You don't sound overjoyed by that.
Galleries can take a lot of work.
I can imagine.
It's a lot of work
Would you
depending on the size.
define gallery for me? Is that a large photo series?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually
Like an
25 or
event
more.
coverage.
Yeah, the event coverage, and a lot of times if it's a real small event, you struggle to get a dozen photos out of it, maybe,
Sure.
because the material's not there.
Got it.
Then there's, like Holyoke over the weekend, you can fill it up with almost 300 photos.
Easily, I'm sure.
Right.
Right.
So it's a little hard because you have to know when okay, I shot enough of that. Move on. I shot enough of that.
Got it.
But anytime I can get a writer,
You prefer not to do that yourself.
writers, that's what they do. They write.
Right.
It'll
Well, and the
take me-
photography in and of itself is enough of a job, I'm sure, to keep your hands full.
So
and-
a good news photographer is frankly a fairly rare commodity. I mean, you've got to have an eye for it. And you have to have
Yeah.
a sense of what's important.
Got it.
And a lot of folks can't do that job.
I've seen them come and go when I was doing video.
Yeah, you need quick reflexes, and you need to be able to assess a situation and decide what visual aspect of the story is going to be, how to best represent that,
And write a good cut line.
And write a good cut line.
cut lines are real important. I mean,
What's a cut line?
the
For those who don't know.
Caption.
The
A
caption. I mean, because you only have 2 or 3 sentences underneath the photo to tell what happened.
And sometimes I'm guessing that's really where people's focus is.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll just look at the photo and move on.
Yeah.
They don't even read your story, or that catches their eye, and that's what they're looking at. Where both of us had posted stuff at one time or another, and they said, "Well, you didn't talk about this," and that. Well, you didn't read the story because
It
you
was
only looked
there.
at the photo.
Right.
And
But that photo is usually the hook that's going to get somebody into the story.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny the way people read newspapers, because a lot of people just kind of skim. And if you see a photograph with somebody or something that you know or that relates to you, that's where you stop.
Sure, makes sense.
And that's where you get if you're a reader, you're going to get into the story and get the rest of the information.
Yeah.
So those visual cues are really, really important. Now, when I was a young reporter in Chicopee, and this was, I think, true in most of the industry at that time, because, frankly, we were rolling in money. All right, I mean, we had a license to print money. A full-page ad was about $6,000 in those days in the Springfield Daily News and in the Springfield Morning Union. And at Christmas time, Forbes and Wallace and Steigers would each be running 5, 6, 7 pages of full-page ROP every bloody day between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Wow.
So imagine what the revenue stream looked like. Plus, on average, we would have 6 or 7 pages of classified every single day. This is in the days before Craigslist and eBay. Now, that classified revenue stream has gone the way of the dinosaur, and the ROP isn't doing all that much better.
ROP?
Run of press.
Run of press.
That means an advertisement that runs in all editions of the entire newspaper. So
Okay.
at our peak, at Springfield's peak, that was something in excess of 100,000 newspapers.
A lot of mileage out of those ads.
A lot of mileage, a lot of readership, and a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
So the revenue stream has declined precipitously not just in Springfield, but in print
Nationwide,
advertising
yes.
everywhere.
Wide.
Across the industry.
And that means that, okay, when I was 22 years old, I worked in a a four-man bureau. We had an office in Chicopee, and this is when we had two newspapers with competing staffs, honest to God. Yeah. So the Morning Union had Henry Filer and Frank Sousa on one side of the room, and on the other side of the room was myself and Sam Hoffman. So there were 4 full-time people covering the city of Chicopee for the Springfield newspapers. Yeah. So that meant, and I was the new kid on the totem pole, which meant I got to cover every bloody night meeting. But every school committee meeting, every Board of Aldermen in those days, every aldermanic meeting, committee meetings, we covered everything and wrote extensively about all of these things. I mean, there was nothing to write a 20-inch story.
Right.
For those of you who are not into newspaper terminology, we measure stories by the column inch. All right, so when you see your newspaper column, a 20-inch story is a story that occupies 20 inches of type on the page. And that's a fairly extensive story. I mean, it's a pretty long story.
It's like a half page.
Ish. It's a big story. So yeah, you really have to lean into that mic, Hope.
I know I'm not used to that.
That's okay.
It's okay. Get there.
It's you're a newspaper person. You're not a radio person.
I'm not a radio person.
Yeah.
I might be after today. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Definitely on your way.
Anyway, we're at 6:30. This is WSKB 89.5 FM in Westfield. We'll be right back.
We're now about to go live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live.
89.5 WSKB.
Community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. Visit on the web at baystatedental.com. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Thursday morning from 6 till 8, it's Patrick Berry, owner of the Westfield News Group.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good Monday morning. George Delisle here with By George It's Monday. Pete Coles at the controls, Amanda Brodkin, Hope Tremblay, and Fred Gore. And we're talking about newspapers in the 21st century and journalism in the 21st century. And we were just offline talking a little bit about Pete. Tell us this class you're going to be teaching over at
I haven't written any curriculum yet, but the first class I want to tell the kids is you have one of the most powerful imaging devices ever created in your pocket. Now learn how to use it.
Fred, your career as a photojournalist, I'm sure, began with film.
Oh, lots of film.
Probably not. In the early days in my career, we did not do color in the Springfield newspapers until probably the late 90s is when we really got into color. Prior to that, we had a guy running the press who basically told everybody we can't do color, can't do it. We're not doing color. So we didn't get heavily into color until, like I said, it was the mid to late 90s when we started doing color, and we could only do it in certain positions on the newspaper because of the limitations of the old press.
He just didn't want to order a different color ink.
Well, Al Santinello was a crusty old newspaper production guy who basically did not want to be bothered trying to register color.
Yeah, it was all grayscale, and one color is a heck of a lot easier in grayscale.
Well, yeah. Well, you don't have to register anything, so if the plates don't line up, it looks terrible, and he didn't want to be bothered with any of that. When we got the Man Roland press shortly after 2001, the current press, which is a phenomenally capable press. We can put color basically in any position anywhere in the newspaper, and it looks pretty good.
Yep.
So now that's when the shift was made from they used to shoot nothing but black and white film because we weren't using color. So what was the point?
Why invest in it?
Yeah. But Fred, I'm sure you had all the darkroom fun things that making prints under the gun.
Oh yeah. And then sizing them. Mm-hmm. That was one of the main issues. Was you never knew what the editors wanted. So we had this wheel that we used to have to calculate.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I sure do.
We need 2 column by 3 column, and it has to fit in this hole. So you'd have to redo everything you just did.
Rip out the slide rule.
Yeah.
So was that?
Well, no, they actually made there was a newspaper specific ratio wheel that you could just dial in.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Almost like a slide rule.
Almost like a slide rule.
So Fred, was that sizing determination made by how many column inches were already in the newspaper in terms of writing, or it sounds like a chicken and egg?
The layout editor would decide.
The layout people would do it, and a lot of times you'd be done, and they would add something or subtract something,
and then you'd have to go back in.
And then you had to resize the photo. Yeah.
Resize everything, and every time you did that, you didn't do it in 10 minutes.
No, because you had to process the film.
Right. Well,
develop the film.
Reshoot the negative to the size that you need it to be.
So I've never been in the production end of newspaper. You're actually talking about creating and developing a print of a specific dimension, and then laying that into the whole layout process.
And they would actually make a negative of the entire page.
Right.
There would be a negative made, so we have the photo and the copy, and you put it on a plate, and then that's what's printed.
Well, that's the world. Now, the world that
we don't do that anymore.
The world that I grew up with actually preceded that process. There was no negative of the page. It was cast in hot lead.
And it ran from that?
It ran, well, the process was that there were linotype operators. The linotype machine did exactly what it sounds like. It produced a line of type, one at a time. And a very highly skilled operator ran this machine, and so they were giving the reporters marked up copy, the edited copy, and this operator would have to transcribe that copy on the linotype machine to produce what was called a galley. It would produce the story in reversed, raised lead letters.
And were those? Is that where columns originate from?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
produce an article by the column.
You produce type by the column. So what happened was they would
Getting
take
very
this. They would,
technical, George.
and it's a very visual thing, and it's really hard to describe to somebody who never saw the process. But all of this cast type would be put into a big form in the size of a
Like a
newspaper
frame.
page, like a frame. But it was a mechanical thing, so it could be tightened at the ends.
Okay.
Right, it was the top and the sides could be screwed
So
in
you're
to hold
locking it all
everything.
in?
That's exactly what they called it. It was
Locking
called
in the
locking
type.
up the page.
Aha. My coffee's
Photographs.
kicking in.
Photographs had to be, as Fred describes, they had to be sized exactly because they had to be then shot. They had to be shot on a special camera that etched the photograph onto a piece of zinc, a plate of zinc.
Yep.
That was washed in acid, and it produced a reverse image. So it was also broken up into dots because that needed to be done to reproduce the thing. You had to see it.
It sounds
Interesting. So this whole
And complicated.
page was done, and they would put this fiber mat on top of the raised type and stuff, and they would put that through a roller that hit it with about a ton of pressure, forcing the image into the mat. The mat went onto a casting machine, which poured molten lead into it to make a curved plate, and it was that curved plate that actually went onto the press to produce the image. Now, that was what's called a letterpress. Different process than what is used today. Today we use offset, which is vastly different in nature, and there's no metal or any of that stuff. It's not even. It's a photographic process now, and we don't use. Hope you were describing that full page negative.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
do that anymore.
Nope.
The page comes right. It goes right onto a plate. It's image.
And usually they're paper. Well, I've run a paper offset and I've run a tin offset.
Yeah,
aluminum.
This is the aluminum plates.
Yep.
So
I've run
when
both.
Hope and Fred, when you began your careers, were all of those layout and production processes part of the whole area that you learned as part of your job? Did you have to know all of that stuff, or
I
just kind of
did.
hand it off?
I did. I started in, my college newspaper, Framingham State College,
okay.
University now, and was the editor at one point, and that was part of it too. But we used computers, and then we had a local paper that would print it for us. But we did the layout, we did everything ourselves. And as a small community editor with the Longmeadow News, with the Holyoke Sun, there's just some of the places I've worked over the years. I, as part of my job as the editor, was doing the layout. It
Really had to keep all of that in perspective.
So I had to
consideration.
do math. I had to use the photo wheel for a while. Math's not my thing. I'm a writer. But you kind of had to know a little bit about everything.
I think there's an awful lot of us in journalism who will make the same statement you just did.
I know I have.
Yeah, math, no, not so much.
I do the words, not the numbers.
Hope, were you a journalism major or what?
I wasn't. I have a degree in English with a concentration in journalism and a minor in art. I was kind of all over the place. And when I was a kid, I dreamed of writing for Rolling Stone, and went off to college not quite knowing what I was going to major in, and just was taken in by a couple of professors who saw that I could write and really helped me hone in on that, and had a great experience and came out with a degree. And I spent 3 years at the Gate Post, that was our college paper, and started working at the Middlesex News before I even graduated.
Okay.
Went on to the Worcester Telegram and ended up back here in my hometown at the Westfield Evening News back in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, good journey. Fred, how about you?
Fred, how did you get here? I'm really curious.
How did little
about
Freddie
that.
get to
Where
be
did you
big
come
Fred
from
is?
anyway?
Fred's comes from everywhere.
Yeah, kind of.
I always thought it must be some kind of punishment.
For whom?
No, for Fred's past sins.
okay.
He said.
I used to play a lot with photos back in the early 60s to the mid 60s, and then it just evolved from there. I guess I liked shooting a lot of the public events, on my own, and eventually I hooked up with Kicks back when it was Kicks Radio, and I shot their concerts for many years.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, radio photographer. You don't hear that.
And then I kind of just
Promotional
merged.
guy.
There's a job for Adam.
It kind of just merged into the newspaper,
So what were you doing for a real job? I mean, like Danny Nason runs around and takes photos all over the place, and his job is crushing rock.
Back when I was really playing around, I was still a digital.
Oh, you're a deck guy.
I'm a decky.
All right.
My wife is
okay.
a decky too.
There's-
We had like 28 years in before they closed.
Yeah. Oh, there's an awful lot of folks around here who had to find a new way to make a living when deck went away. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you brought up about freelance. I love being a freelancer. I have no desire to go into a real full time. I'm past that stage now
Yeah.
because being a freelancer, there's so much flexibility. If I don't want to work tomorrow, I don't have to work.
Don't you ever have that worry about, as a freelancer, if I say no, they're going to call somebody else and they might not call me next time?
He doesn't say no very often.
No.
No, I think part of it too is when the people know you, they know it's time for a break, and that's really what you're doing. You're looking
Right.
Well, and you're
for a
working with
break.
people with whom you've had a relationship for quite a while.
working, and we've talked about this a lot. We're together a lot. Like we know each other's family. I know her husband. I know her kids. She knows my wife. She knows my daughter. That's like a whole other family.
Well, it gives you a
know?
level of comfort and trust.
Well, not to
With
mention,
money.
I think both of you can certainly claim to know the community better than most
And that's
people.
a big part of it.
Well, and you've established that level of trust with
you have
with the
to.
people you cover.
have to.
You do have to, and I've seen young reporters who broke the trust early in the game and never got it back.
Oh yeah.
And it happens. You can't.
does.
And that doesn't mean you can't be a good reporter and report honestly. It means everybody knows the rules of the game. Everybody follows the rules, and you don't blindside people. And that's why the late Ted Laborde was absolutely beloved in this community because
I
Ted.
miss Ted.
We all miss Ted. I actually broke Ted in. I was his first assignment when he came to work for the old Springfield Daily News. They stuck him in the Enfield Bureau. And I happened to be covering the Enfield Bureau on vacation for 2 weeks. Somebody else was on vacation for 2 weeks, so I knew the community and I had covered it before. So I was down in Enfield when Ted showed up as, "Hi, I'm a brand new reporter." Terrific guy, good writer, dedicated reporter, and everybody loved him, and I really miss him a lot. So anyway, it is 6:47. We're late for a break, and we got more music to show you. So Pete, what do we got?
Oh, newspapermen meet such interesting people. They know the lowdown, now it can be told. I'll tell you quite reliably off the record about some charming people I have known. For I meet the politicians and grafters by the score. Killers plain and fancy, it's really quite a bore. Oh, newspapermen meet such interesting people. They wallow in corruption, crime, and gore. Ting-a-ling-a-ling, city desk. Hold the press. Extra, extra, read all about it. It's a mess, meets the test. Oh, newspapermen meet such interesting people. It's wonderful to represent the press. Now you remember Mrs. Sadie Smuggery. She wanted money to buy a new fur coat. To get insurance, she employed skullduggery. She up and cut her husband's only throat. She chopped him into fragments, she stuffed him in a trunk. She shipped it all back yonder to her uncle in Podunk. Now newspapermen meet such interesting people. It must have startled poor old Sadie Zonk. Ting-a-ling-a-ling, city desk. Hold the press, extra, extra, read all about it. It's a mess, meets the test. Oh, newspapermen meet such interesting people. It's wonderful to represent the press. Now, publishers are such interesting people. Their policies and acrobatic things. They claim to represent the common people. It's funny, Wall Street never has complained. Ah, but publishers have worries, for publishers must go to working folks for readers and big shots for their dough. Now, publishers are such interesting people. It could be prostitution, I don't know. Ting-a-ling-a-ling, circulation, ting-a-ling-a-ling, advertising, get those readers, get that payoff. What a headache, what a mess. Oh, publishers are such interesting people. Let's give 3 cheers for freedom of the press. Now, newspapermen are such interesting people. They used to slave away just for romance. But finally, the movies notwithstanding, they all got tired of patches on their pants. They got tired of cavorting as if they were in front page. They joined progressive actors upon a living stage. Now newspapermen meet such interesting people, 'cause they know they've got a people's fight to wage. Ting-a-ling-a-ling, newspaper guild, we got a free new world to build. Meet the people, that's a thrill, all together fits the bill. Oh, newspapermen meet such interesting people. It's wonderful to represent the guild.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore at Westfield State University, right here in the Ely Campus Center. Whether you're a student, faculty member, or friend of the university, it's the place to shop. Everything from Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise to all of your academic needs. Offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Visit the bookstore on campus or online at www.westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut shops of Westfield and the Sardina family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
He rules the roost on Thursday from 6 till 10. It's Patrick Berry.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good Monday morning, 6:51, 6:52 now, and on a I don't know what's it going to be like today, Pete. I didn't even.
It's going to be beautiful today, but cold.
Beautiful but cold.
We may catch a little bit of the storm now Wednesday. A little bit.
A little bit.
We're like right on the edge of that.
Well, I hope it stays to the south because I have a really, really important meeting in Northampton on Wednesday afternoon.
The gradient line kind of comes right through Southwick and goes to the east, so Northampton clear.
Should be cool. Okay, that's great.
The model that they're showing on TV is showing that. The other model kind of has widespread snow, but neither one's been very accurate this year. So
okay then.
So that's late day Wednesday.
Yeah, they were talking about during the day on Wednesday.
So we'll hope for the best.
Yeah.
Won't affect school.
Who knows?
No more snow days.
Oh boy. Yeah,
Too much togetherness.
Please let Zap sleep a little bit.
Yeah,
Poor
really.
guy.
Hey, we're talking today about newspapers and journalism in general with Hope Tremblay and Fred Gore from the Republican, both I guess graduates of the Westfield News, and so you're both pretty experienced journalists, and we're talking about. I don't think the average reader or the average consumer of journalism understands the level of trust that it is necessary for you folks as professionals to establish with the people that you cover on a regular basis. You want to talk about a little bit about those relationships because it really is important, and I think if the general public understood what you have to do to establish that trust, they might be a little bit more appreciative of what they're reading in the newspaper.
Sure. it can take a long time to build up that trust. You're covering, committees and city councils and politicians. And if you've burned them, you misquote them, they may never go back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a long time to establish that relationship, to build the trust, and to keep it too, because I've seen people lose that trust. And
now I bring this up because I know there are, and I don't want to name any names, but there are folks in town who feel that if you don't write something glowing about them, you're not being fair.
Right. And that's why I try to, if you read my stories, you'll see if there's a side to an issue, I try to speak to somebody on both sides, or I follow up the next day from the other side, because I want to, that's my job, is to show every aspect of the story. And
it's not your job to pick a side. It's your job to say, here are the
I'm
arguments.
Neutral.
Yeah.
I'm completely neutral, especially when it comes to politics.
City politics has become a little contentious lately.
A little?
A little bit.
I'm trying to be nice.
A little bit. A couple issues that are contentious for sure, but I'm, like I said, trying to speak to everybody I can. My phone number is available to anybody who wants to call to talk about it. But there used to be a saying about, I don't know if I'm phrasing it right, but if someone thinks your article is in their favor, you've done something right. Because if both sides think, oh, great job, you really showed my side, and this person says, oh, no, it's all about my side, then I've done my job, because you are both satisfied.
Or both sides are mad at you, and then you've done your job too.
Well, I think that's more often than not. If everybody's angry, then you did a really great job. Fred, from a photography point of view, do you get a lot of, oh, you didn't show me in a flattering light sort of thing, or?
No, he gets, why isn't my kid in the paper?
Opposite.
I get a lot of that.
Fred and I have been there on scenes.
Yeah, we've done that. Let me tell you. I think the people who know us know we need to show them in the real situation that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to like you, but I need to show you the best way I can.
Right.
And that's pretty well it. I mean, I covered 2 parties over the weekend for important people. And a lot of those people, when you show up with a camera and it's a party, people get a little jumpy. Like they don't want to be seen with
drinks
a
in there.
beverage and
right. Don't take my picture with a giant glass of green beer.
Right,
right. Yeah.
But the people who you have a good relationship with, they don't get nervous because they already know you're not going to do it.
You're not going to do a gotcha.
Right. You're not going to do a gotcha, and I'll pull it out a month from now. It's just not going to happen, because that's going to end real quick.
In my experience, there's nothing that frightens a politician more than a new reporter.
Oh yeah. I went on a lot of live shots. A lot of live shots in this market with brand new reporters.
Yeah.
And I'm telling them, I'm saying, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Come over here. Just don't worry about it. And there's been a lot of they don't know the lay of the land.
No.
They don't know who they can push the buttons with and who they can joke with.
I made my share of mistakes as a 19, 20, 21-year-old reporter, and it's when you're fresh out of school and you're out there, you're going to go save the world, right? You're going to change the world through journalism, and it takes you a while to realize that those people you're covering, you've got to establish a level of trust.
Well, there's another part of trust in there too, is these people. When we have to contact these people and it's beyond their business hours, they entrust us with their real cell number,
right?
Their home number, or where they live, anything that they rely on you not to break that trust by, oh yeah, I've got so-and-so's number here you go. We can't do that.
Of course not.
That
would backfire immediately.
Oh, right, it would be the end. I mean,
yeah.
Careers have ended over that.
Hey, we've got one of our regular callers on the line who'd like to ask a question of our journalistic team here. So, Rusty, I understand it's you. Go ahead.
Good morning, folks. How are you?
Good morning,
Rusty.
Good morning. I'm finding this topic very, very interesting. And the question I have is for your guest, George. I'm from a generation where I read the paper every day. And George, I remember you when you had your consumer column.
Boy, you really are old.
Yeah, but I read the paper more so than watching TV. So that's where I get a lot of my information from. But anyways, for your guest, what is the future for? You speak for the future for the print newspaper specifically. I know we have the Mass Live, we have the Facebook, and I'll be honest with you, some of the reporters on Mass Live have a problem with spelling, grammar, all the above. So, what's your take on the future of newspapers?
Before you go on, I just want to say that it is 7 o'clock. We're not going to take a break right now, but this is WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield. Go ahead.
Well, it's not a secret that all the print across the country has diminished somewhat because of social media and other electronic forums. I do think, I think print's going to be around for a while. I think people like to touch it, feel it,
smell the ink.
Cut out the articles, put it on the refrigerator.
Wash their hands.
It's hard to get a coupon out of your radio. Just saying.
Television is the same way. I mean, we see it all the time, and a lot of times, I mean, we all know each other because we're at the same events. So we know TV guys, we know the players, and I see it all the time where TV is here. Oh my God, we got to stop. And that's great. I get it, but if you walked away for 15 seconds and your spot was on, you just missed your spot because you went to do something.
Yeah.
Where print is, you can buy yesterday's paper at your convenience store if you missed it, or it'll probably be archived online. I think it's still going to be around. It's changing. We went from, black and white film. We went to, the wheels that we had to measure photos on to digital now, and now we're at cell phone quality, and we can send everything back virtually instantaneously if we have to. But I think everybody knows print is diminished, but I think it's still going to be around. I can't speak for, Hope and I both know a lot of times what irritates me is I don't think a lot of the new people even have, I don't have a degree in English or anything, but I read some of the stories, and I read what should be a paragraph in reality is one sentence, 70 words.
That's a no-no.
Really, that's a no-no.
Well, and that's an editorial job. And are editors going away?
Well, they have.
They are.
That's part of the problem. When I was a youngster, I reported to the assistant city editor. This was a gentleman named Abby Hatchadorian, who was a former, he was a retired former, I think he was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. The guy's a hot pilot as a young man. And he had macular degeneration, and his eyesight had deteriorated, and he couldn't fly anymore. So he left the Air Force and became a newspaper man. And he'd done every job there was. He'd been a reporter, he'd been a copy editor, he'd done all of this stuff. So here I am, a 19-year-old, writing about general assignment reporter, writing about whatever, and I hand my copy into Abby Hatchadorian, and I didn't have a prayer of slipping anything by this guy. It was like he'd look at the copy and he'd hand it right back to me and said, "You missed something. Go find out what you missed." And he was relentless. But, Abby was the best editor I ever had. He was a mentor. He was a coach. He was a teacher. And he knew what he was talking about. Young reporters don't have this anymore. What I saw this start to deteriorate in the late 70s, early 80s, when the older generation of copy editors started to kind of go away. And nobody wanted to be a copy editor. the established reporters did not want to transition over into that role. So what was happening is the copy desk was starting to be staffed by kids right out of journalism school who didn't have the experience. It didn't have the knowledge to convey to the younger reporters coming in. Now, fast forward that to today. The process used to be reporter writes a story, goes to the city editor reviews it, kicks it back if it needs additional work or correction, finally passes that on to the copy desk so a decision is made as to where it's going to run and how it's going to run. Copy desk marks it up, writes a headline, goes to layout, goes to the composing room, story is set and type, and off we go. The process now is reporter writes a story, it's up on Mass Live without editing.
See, mine don't do that.
Well,
mine don't either. No.
I send mine to an editor.
Okay.
Which is
it's kind of unfortunate, really.
Yeah, which is the way I like it. That's how I learned. That's how I think it should be. And I think a lot of the new reporters too, they're glorified bloggers. They don't know AP style.
That's right.
That's a big part of it.
They can't write a complete sentence.
But they're also, but they have no supervision. I mean, these kids,
but
I don't mean to criticize them for their age, but they have no supervision.
No, well,
and they're not being taught in journalism school.
And what they're learning is coming off of YouTube from other kids.
You know what part of it is?
Them.
You know what a part of it is? And a part of it is they don't read either.
Oh, I completely agree with you.
They don't
Fred.
read. They can't read a clock, a lot of them, unless it's digital.
You say that as a joke, and
no,
it's absolutely
not a joke.
true.
They can't write. I'm talking about cursive writing. They can't write.
No, they don't. They don't teach cursive writing anymore. So
there's my point.
But that's not the student's fault.
But do you want to thank Rusty for the call?
I'm sorry?
Thank Rusty for the call.
Hey, Rusty, thanks for calling in.
Thanks, Rusty.
Rusty, did we answer your question?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And to your point, too, on a much broader scope of reporting, like I look at market, I look at Market Watch online, and the same problem there, where there'll be a title that will spark an interest in me, and I click on it, and then I'm like, this is it? I'm like, I'm not being challenged. I mean, why bother? So, yeah, I think it certainly has changed somewhat, but anyways, hey, thanks for taking my call, and you have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling in.
See, but George, I disagree with you in a little bit.
Okay.
If you want to learn, you can read papers that have a good reputation.
Absolutely. There are still newspapers that have top-notch writing and great editing.
So if you want to learn how to construct a sentence or a paragraph or how to report, read those papers. You don't need a mentor sitting on your side.
It helps.
It helps. I mean, my stuff.
It's like, okay, to me, journalism, it really is a profession. And it's very hard. I mean, yes, I can go and read medical books and learn about medicine. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm a doctor.
No, but it gets you familiar with the terminology.
It does.
Gives you a starting point.
I just think that that reporters in my generation had the benefit of the wisdom and the experience of all these people, the very, very talented people who went before us. And I can give you a half a dozen names of copy editors and people who I deeply respected, who knew exactly what they were doing. That if I had a question about how to approach a story or how to construct a particular paragraph, I could go talk to these guys, and they'd give me 6 different ways to approach the problem, and I knew that I could rely on their advice because I knew they had done it. They had done it for years, and I've seen, the craft of the copy editor, at least on the smaller newspapers, has kind of gone away. It's not what it used to be, and they're under so much deadline pressure. And they're under so much pressure to get something out there first, and that's part of the issue with Mass Live. And I'm not criticizing Mass Live per se, but they're trying to beat
the nature of the beast.
They're trying to beat television. They're trying to be the first out there with the story, which is something we didn't used to worry about. We tried to beat the morning paper. The afternoon paper would try to beat the morning paper. The morning paper would try to beat the afternoon paper. It was
But part of it too is, and I'm not talking about Mass Live. I think they do a really good job. I'm talking about news in general. Everybody is trying to beat the other person, that's okay. But you're also competing against the neighbor who is putting the stuff up on Facebook and blogging it out and not necessarily having all the facts.
Sometimes with no context.
Well, 2 weeks ago, Hope and I, we were covering a different story. We were around Westfield, and we hear the call. Remember, we went chasing that. We hear a call on a TV station. A car hit a house.
Crashed into a house.
A house.
It did not.
Her and I went up and down that street for I don't know how long.
Looking for damage to a house?
We didn't even find yellow tape.
We found out they ran over a bush.
They ran over a bush. That's what happened.
They crashed into a house.
That's probably because of how that was portrayed on the scanner. They heard it, and then they threw it out there. I've been there.
There is an enormous amount of uninformed opinion, especially on Facebook, but I'm sure on other social media, that is, if your primary source of news is Facebook, then I pretty much guarantee you don't have any idea what the hell's going on.
God help you.
Well, again, they don't read.
No.
And that's what it comes down. I mean, Peter was. I've known Peter since his Channel 40 days because we worked together.
Yep.
And I still see people jump out of their cars or photographers that run up to a scene. They don't even know what they're looking at. They just start blanketing the scene with photos. You know that.
The funny thing was I went up to a major car accident in Chicopee when I was almost first on the job. Walked up to the guy doing traffic and I go, "Where don't you want me?" And he stopped for a minute. He was flabbergasted.
Exactly the right question.
Where don't you want me? And he says, "Why are you asking me that question? Normally people just barge by me." I says, "Because I don't want to impede you doing your job. I got to do mine."
Right. So
and he just started laughing. He busted out laughing. He goes, "Go see the Sarge over there. He'll tell you where you can go." And I was like, he was truly shocked.
I have asked that same question, exactly same question, more times than I can count when I was a reporter in the field. The last thing
That's how I became friends with a lot of the police officers. I said, "Guys, you got to do your job. I got to do mine. Where can I go to get a decent shot?"
Right.
And they'll tell you.
They'll help you.
Yeah.
They'll help you if you show them the respect for their job.
Yep.
They're going to show you the respect for yours.
I've seen coworkers and competitors just barge right in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just hanging back going, no.
It does.
And it goes back to the trust.
And the word gets around, too, because now when I started asking in a couple communities, they talk. They all talk to each other.
Yeah.
And now you go to a big event, and they're like, "Oh, we know you. Okay, come with me." You know what I mean? They would tell you, "Just come with me."
It's
big Holyoke fires. I would get great shots at big Holyoke fires because the guys would know that A, we know who you are, and B, we can work. There was one time where I was working for the Holyoke PD as a dispatcher and as a photographer.
Right.
And literally, I heard a big Holyoke fire coming up. That was when the church burnt, that whole block.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard my guys on the radio screaming, and I went, "These guys don't normally get riled up." And I told I was a Sunday afternoon. I was the only photographer on.
Mm-hmm.
I said to the producer, "I'm leaving. You need to call in more people." And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Just start calling in people." And I got the news director calling me, and she's like, "Well, you need to come back to the station." I'm like, "No, call in more people." And I just finally just hung up the phone and I said, "Whenever, catch me on the radio." And "We don't want this on the radio." I'm like, "Listen, you guys have had me as an assignment editor. Just trust my judgment." And we were there for 14 hours.
Wow.
On the scene. Bring me batteries and tapes. Just keep feeding me.
Right.
And we had 4 photographers. The scene was so large that we had 4 photographers on each of the corners of the block, shooting different buildings burning.
Wow. When was that?
That was when the church burnt.
A long time ago.
The church burnt and the two empty apartment blocks. And the only thing that was saved was the rectory. I think that was the only thing.
Well, that was very similar to the big fire in Westfield, the one by the Great River Bridge.
Yeah, I was on vacation for that. I missed that.
Same
one
thing.
completely.
I mean, the cops see you, and you let them know. It's a courtesy. don't hide, because now you're really going to get in trouble.
Right.
Let them know that you're there. They know you have to get certain photos. 9 out of 10 times, they'll say, go over here, go over here. Stay in view so it doesn't look like you're sneaking around.
Right.
Be on the up and up.
And let them know when you leave, because
they don't want to be looking for your corpse.
Exactly.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
They'll let you into areas where it's marginal for the general public, because they know you got eyes on the back of your head when you're doing your job anyways. And then they'll also be looking out for you should something bad happen.
Right. You can be the most skilled photographer or the most competent writer in the world, but if you don't have the right set of personal skills, you're not going to get anywhere in this business. And I've seen that happen time and time again, where I've seen kids who were phenomenal writers, who had great journalistic chops, who just could not build a relationship with the people they were covering, and they washed out as reporters, and they didn't stay in the business. They went and became PR flacks or whatever they were going to do. But
Hey, the world needs PR flacks.
well, they do, but they also need great journalists, and they need great journalists today more than I think they've ever needed them. This is a crucial time in our history, and the only thing that's going to keep us honest is really.
We're now about to go live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live.
89.5 WSKB.
Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Placek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Wally Computer Associates, one of the largest technology providers in North America. Headquartered in Southwick, Wally provides all of the products and services that you'd expect from a world-class technology partner to schools, colleges, businesses, as well as state and local governments and agencies. Wally Computer Associates, meeting all of your technology needs. On the web at WCA.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com. With the Xfinity Double Play and Xfinity Triple Play, you can choose to bundle Comcast services for a great value. Experience Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Explore all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area on the web at Xfinity.com. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
7:22 in the morning on your Monday, George Delisle. It's by George, it's Monday, and we've got Fred Gore and Hope Tremblay, and of course Amanda
sharing
Brackett
war
and
stories.
Sharing war stories. You know what? This is my idea of fun radio. Fred told me when he walked in the door this morning, I'm leaving if I get bored. He's still here, so apparently you've managed to keep his attention. Yeah.
My worst story was I was covering, you weren't around for this one because it was right by the station, but I covered a motorcycle accident right at the beginning of 391 going down towards City Hall, and it was a hit and run. So I'm shooting the motorcycle, getting the guys doing the scene, and I heard over their radios, because they had their portables up, that the guy was a drunk, and they caught him further down just into Springfield, or right at the end of Center Street. So they're all jumping in their cars. I'm running back to my truck, and I trip over a curb, puncture my lip from the inside out. Now, I'm sitting there going, I went down and finished covering the rest of the story going like this with a towel. I had some paper towels in the car. Dropped off the gear, and now I'm in the hospital, right?
Right.
Overnight getting stitched up for this.
Jeez.
And I tried calling out sick for the next morning because I'm in the next morning.
There's no sick in television.
No.
Right.
That's what I got from Bill Welcome.
Yeah.
You know Bill.
I thought you were going to say you were in the next bay from the drunk guy.
People don't think about injuries on the job.
I'm like I'm still under anesthesia and I'm kind of half out of it, and thank God they had an intern that morning carrying the gear around, and I got a brand spanking new reporter. Like literally she's been in town for 3 days.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I'm doing weekend stories, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be.
Teach you to be a little more careful.
Listen, I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to talk about broadcast reporters, and God knows the only radio reporter left in the valley is Bayback.
Bayback.
He's it. He's all there is.
I remember Stan Gaeta and Ron Russell.
Gaeta, yeah.
Back in the old days.
But is it just me, or do the TV reporters look less and less like reporters?
Well, you know what it is? This is the market. We're in a unique situation in this market because it's like 103, but we're sandwiched, 60, 70 miles from Boston, 20 miles from Hartford, and 90 miles from New York.
It's super transitional. I mean, if you can...
This is a great middle market to get noticed.
Yeah.
And that's why you see the turnover that you do.
I don't know. Television. This may be just prejudice on my part, but television it's always been, oh, look at the pretty face. You have any actual journalistic chops? Yeah, probably not. You're there because
some of them do.
Some of them do. Some of them do.
Some of them learn on the job, and it's an interesting process.
I've mentioned before. I worked alongside Ray Herschel 40-something years ago. We both covered the Chicopee mayor's office.
Yep.
And so I saw Ray and usually Danny Jarvis.
Yep.
Every single day. And it's funny as, Ray's still out there.
He's finally retired, and I think this is it for him.
They were talking
Yeah.
about at the parade coverage yesterday that
he's
that
semi-retired.
Yeah,
But he's
this is his
he's
last
over.
year.
I think he's over 70.
Yeah,
He's a little bit
really?
older than I am. Yeah, Ray's.
I love that somebody with that longevity and of that age is still active and
50
relevant
years in the business.
in the
50
field.
years in the
That's
business
phenomenal.
here. 50 years in the business in
He never left,
Springfield.
yeah.
He never left.
Yep, he
That's
started
great.
here and never left.
And usually, if somebody never leaves this market, it's because they're not that. It's because they're not that good. That's not the case with Ray Herschel.
No, you know what? And Barry Krieger tested the waters in Providence for a couple of years, and then decided he just wanted to come home.
Yeah.
Dave got out of the business for a couple of years and wanted to come back.
Yes.
You know, so the core anchors that we've had around here have been here for a long time, and when they start retiring, there's really nobody to replace them.
No, there isn't, and it's really going to change the face of television news around here. I mean, Ray Herschel retired. Oh my God! I mean, that's. He's kind of the heart and soul of that operation if you stop to think about it. And
Well,
Dave-
of all of the news
yeah.
operations around here, you see Ray at a story. Hey, Ray, what am I missing?
Yeah.
That's,
Yep. Lot of experience there. It's, journalism.
Fred and
It's-
Hope were telling us some war stories off the air, which kind of got me thinking about how do you have the nature, the personality to cover some of those really tougher stories and keep going forward. I know, we've talked a lot about trust this morning, but there's also got to be some, is detachment the word or objective
You know what?
perspective?
I think everybody in the news business, and you guys chime in if I'm wrong, but I think I've never known a successful newspaper person who doesn't have a certain gallows sense of humor.
You have to have a little bit of a dark side, I guess.
Yes.
Especially when I was an editor in Holyoke for 7 or 8 years, and there, it was when there was a lot of fires going on, a lot of shootings going on, and you have to have that ability to almost separate yourself from it because you just get too engulfed in the emotion of it. And I'm not, I wasn't desensitized. It still affected me, but you couldn't let it affect your job.
You were able to separate it a little bit.
You have to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been at accident scenes where there was a guy who was launched from his car who was impaled on a tree branch.
I didn't mean that we had to go through.
Well, no, I'm saying I'm going to say
though.
these everybody who's in this business for any amount of time in the field, you're going to have to deal with those things.
Yep.
Right.
And that's really what kept me out of this field.
Trains, trucks, unforgiving things.
Yeah. I started, I did a newspaper internship my last semester of college, and I loved it, and I did a great job, and I really thought it might be a path for me, but then I realized I wasn't gonna have the ability to have that, bring that gallows humor to the job.
And to be like what I do is community reporting. I'm doing municipal coverage. I'm at an accident. But I'm also telling the feel-good stories.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of
You
thing
get some
that
balance.
you have to find that balance. And that's the thing that I like the most about what I do is that, you get to do a little bit of everything. But I have this great comic strip. I found it when I was in college. I still have it today. It says how reporters start their day, and it's a reporter blindfolded with a dart, and the dart board is cut into pie wedges, and one says health, one says education, one says politics, and he's just throwing the dart. That's what I'm an expert in today, because you have to know a little bit
about
everything and be able to break it down into language people can understand.
But
that's something else people don't. I do a lot of public speaking. I used to do a lot of public speaking to school groups, to kids. And inevitably, I'd get the kid, I'm going to be a journalism major. And inevitably, I would tell them, don't do it. Here's what you do. Find the area that you love to report on and learn that.
Right.
All right?
Right, yeah, learn the...
Major in political science. If you want to cover politics,
minor in journalism.
In journalism. Major in some kind of a scientific field. Learn the field you want to cover and do journalism as minor. And because that way you're going to be qualified to talk to people on their own terms, and you're going. It's just a much better way to go. And then when your newspaper goes out of business, you'll be able to find a job.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I'm not an expert in engineering and water filtration, but I have to know enough about it to cover the things that are happening right now.
And you know enough to ask somebody who knows about it,
right,
to get the background you need,
or to decipher the jargon into something that the average person could at least digest.
Right. Hey, it's 7:30. This is WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield. We'll be right back after a short break.
Did you see his name in the local paper? Stole a tin of beans from a cut-price grocery store. The judge said he must pay, so they put him on probation. The paper gave his name. Did you see his name in the criminal section? And the center page gave his name and his address. And stopped him doing it again. And put him to dishonor, and put the man to shame. He lost his little job, till this lawyer wasn't saw his name. His world just crumbled down, and instantly did you see his name in the obituary column? Letters urged him back. Life was much too hard to live, so he brought it to an end in his gas-filled masonette because he couldn't stand the strain. Life was much too hard to live, so he brought it to an end in his gas-filled masonette because he couldn't stand the strain. Did you see his name? Did you see his name? Did you see his name?
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
7:33 Monday morning. George Delisle here with Pete Coles, Amanda Brodkin, and Fred Gore.
Fred,
what?
You got to tell them what you just said off air about the love-hate relationship in the media business.
Oh, yeah. You mean Fred?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred. Go ahead.
Well, there's only two types. They either want you there or they don't want you there. No, really. I mean,
you are absolutely right.
If they did something bad, they don't want you there. Now you could have.
But I'm talking about you as a job. Like, I loved being in the media because it was sometimes it's grueling, sometimes it's a grind. Like I was telling you guys off the air, we did a Thanksgiving football, all hands on deck, shooting football games everywhere. And then normally because they carried college football in the afternoon or pro football, we didn't have an evening newscast. Well, there's a big fire on Main Street in Holyoke, and
you're not going home.
Who's volunteering or who's going to get held over? Who's junior? I said, I'll volunteer. Because one of the guys had, one of the young guys, his family was waiting for him for dinner, and I'm like, all right, off we go. And three more guys were right behind me when they saw how big it was. And we knew that the competition, I think we had a 6. That was it. And the competition had nothing. And we were like, we're going to be there. You just have to be there.
Yeah.
Since I retired last November, this is the first time in my entire adult life that I can look out the window at a snowstorm and say I don't care.
Right.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the newspaper business, there ain't no snow days.
Right.
You're going to work.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if the governor called a state of emergency and the roads are closed. You're still going to work.
The funny thing is people in the media business, when the governor, they tell you don't go there, you're going
You're going there. That's exactly where you have to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I spent many a day in a DPW yard slogging through whatever was there.
We have good and bad days. like we were talking. I mean, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I have to assume that I would have never gone with the Geico stunt team.
Exactly. Right.
I flew with Greg
flying.
Poe, who was the world's best stunt pilot, and I've gone on refueling missions halfway around the country.
And those are assignments for you.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I probably wouldn't be able to do them.
Probably.
But
I'm at the newspaper. I'm, for reasons I don't understand, I'm considered to be an expert on roller coasters. It's what I do. I ride roller coasters. I've been on roller coasters all over the country. So a couple of years ago, Ray Kelly, the entertainment editor, came up with the idea that I should go to Six Flags and ride every roller coaster in the park in one day. So
you didn't eat, did you?
Of course I did. That normally doesn't bother me. Seriously, I mean, I don't suffer from motion sickness. However, I miscalculated. I don't have any hair. Okay, and there was not a cloud in the sky, and you can't wear a hat on a roller coaster if you want to keep the hat. So I'm walking around. Well, it was fine we started at 10 o'clock in the morning, and about somewhere around noontime, Jennifer, and I can't think of her last name, the PR person at the park. Jen McGrath, thank you. Jen McGrath says, "Hey, how about some lunch?" Sure. Let's go to Johnny Rockets and eat a double cheeseburger and a whole bunch of fries. And yeah, this is great. Now let's go ride some more roller coasters.
It's not going to end well, is it, George?
Actually, it was. We came out of there and there I still had like another 4 roller coasters to ride. And unfortunately, I started with the baby coasters and worked my way up to it was going to be Superman, and then the Mind Eraser, and I think the last one was Batman. And after I got off, there was another one after Superman. I forget what it was.
The old loop coaster?
The Joker. No, that's long gone.
Oh, okay.
Catwoman's Whip. That's the baby one.
That's a baby one. That was early. Anyway, I'm starting to
That's my speed.
feel the effects of the sun, and it's like, this is not good, because now I'm not feeling great, and I got 2 major coasters still to go, and I hate the Mind Eraser. It's not my favorite coaster. It's an inverted coaster. You're underneath the track, but it's very violent side to side, and I don't recommend a coaster like that for people over 50, because you end up with a headache and your neck and everything hurts.
Oh, so you're telling me I have a few years till I can't ride this?
Yeah, you're fine. You're good.
I don't think anybody should ride that.
So I did the Mind Eraser, and then it was like, this is not good. I'm really starting to feel a little queasy, which is very unusual for me. And my daughter Jennifer is with me doing all of these things, and she's looking at me and she said, "This is how sympathetic my children are. Dad, if you puke on me, I'll kill you." I said, "Yeah, come on. Nobody's puking today. Let's get on Bat." So we got on Batman.
Oh, somebody had to have.
No. Oh, no. Nobody
Not
puked.
you necessarily.
There was no puking. Not in our group.
Okay.
Jennifer's got a steel constitution. She's fine.
The first time I walked by Mind Eraser, I saw somebody come off it and get sick, and I thought, not for me.
So we rode Batman and got through, and then John Sahaki was shooting this thing, and John wanted to get a whole bunch of pictures, and I am gradually turning green. But John takes his pictures, and then I took Jennifer home.
Did you do black and white?
Huh?
Black and white
that was
photos?
color then.
No, this is all color.
Oh.
No, this is
So
not
your
that long
green
ago.
showed up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
And then so I went home, and I'm not feeling my best. I lay down on the couch, and Gina was at work, and Gina came in from work, and she looked at me and she said, "Do you know you're green?" I said, "Yeah, I'm turning into the Hulk. Now go away. Just leave me alone for a while." And I laid there. I recovered long enough that I felt I could write, and then I went to my laptop and I wrote a very long story detailing all of the coasters, and I had it in on deadline. It was in the paper, and I think it was I was kind of happy with the story. I enjoyed it, except for the green part.
So you've covered the highs and the lows, literally the highs and the lows of that kind of a career in one day.
Yeah, in one day. And I will say, of all the coasters I've ridden all over the country, Superman is still, I think, the best coaster I've ever been on.
Really?
It's not the highest by any stretch of the imagination, but it's got the best. It's got a great first
sequence.
Drop. No, it's the first drop is 210 feet, and it goes under the ground, and it comes up to it comes up to about another 150-foot second drop, and as it comes around the corner, there are 3 quick bunny hops, so you're getting air on all of those. Comes out of there, goes through a loop where you're getting some decent G's, and comes out of there, and there's 2 more bunny hops before it goes back into the station. The total effect of this of the coaster is really intense, and it's really fun. And there's no violent side to side. So I mean, you could ride that. You could probably ride that coaster at the age of 80.
I protest that one on principle, though.
Why?
Because it took away my racetrack.
Okay, well, I'll give you that one. But
Coaster.
I'll give you that one.
That's the one that was known as Bizarro for a long time? Is that
for a
the
long
same
time.
one?
Yeah, they decided to paint it a different color and call it Bizarro,
Oh,
but
no.
it's back to Superman now.
I rode it one time, and that was enough. It has only a lap bar. It didn't have an over the shoulder or a 5-point harness.
That has an over the shoulder.
Oh, it didn't when I rode it.
You sure you're right?
Actually, there was a.
I'm almost positive.
I always remember that having an over the shoulder. You know what it did? I rode it the first day it was open, and it had an over the shoulder.
Hey, our guests got to bug out soon.
Do they? Oh, you guys got to go to work.
George, the only thing I want to touch on for the last couple of minutes is, I think it's so important, and I think it shows that the reporter and the photographer are in tune to the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like a lot of the new people coming up, there's that rotation where they're here for a year, gone, and all that.
Right.
I don't think that connection's really there. I know I work with Hope, Elizabeth, Roman, and a lot of others, which I know when we do something, we walk in going, what are we going to do, even before we get there? So I know what she's going to be doing. She knows what I'm going to be doing. And that connection is real special.
Absolutely. And
Are you saying I'm special, Fred?
Yes, he did say
No,
that.
I just wanted to clarify what I heard.
in his own subtle way, Hope, Fred
But
said you're
that's the
special.
only way you're going to succeed is by you're both in tune.
Well, that benefits both of you, and it benefits
the
readers
Yes.
as well.
Yes,
And-
it certainly
and
does.
You have so many new people now, and Peter knows, they jump out of their car, they got their camera, and they have no idea what's going on. The reporter...
Well, they're trying to do too much, too.
Right.
One-man bands are too much in the video news world. Because you're trying to shoot and get the story, and it just something falls through the cracks. One side or the other falls through the cracks.
So you've talked a lot about how the new crop of reporters kind of is affecting the industry. What does the internet do to how you cover? I mean, you're getting clicks, you're getting a lot of commentary, a lot of vocal response that you wouldn't have ordinarily had in traditional print. Is that driving how you do your jobs?
I think it does in a way. I mean, I'm still going to do the best job I can no matter what vehicle is used to get it out to the public, but it does make me more of a public person.
It does.
You know, it's almost like I'm a public personality, even though I'm not an elected official or, I haven't put myself out there, but just by having my name on something that's so widespread now with the internet that, I'm now the face of, the Republican wherever I go and subject to scrutiny more than it used to be when you were just behind a notepad and no one saw you.
Do you get a lot of personal kind of feedback on your work?
Not tons, but
if you
I
make
do.
a mistake, you do.
You're not,
Well,
That's
there's
true.
always
you're not
like
getting
That's
swamped
true.
with compliments, but you're getting.
I did get
Yeah.
a lovely email
Criticisms.
out of the blue the other day from someone I had never met, complimenting some stories. I've been covering everything going on at St. Mary's High School this past week, and someone out of the blue sent me an email saying, thanks for covering this. Good job. You're being fair.
That's great.
So
That's great.
And that's-
I want to
that's
thank.
why I do it.
I want to thank Fred Gore and Hope Tremblay for being with us this morning. Reporter and photographer from the Republican. Say hi to them when you see them out in the community, and Amanda and I will wrap things up after we take a short break.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Take it. Probably a good thing.
You ready? Right, let's make this the one.
There's a new world somewhere they call the promised land, and I'll be there someday if you will hold my hand. I still need you there beside me, no matter what I do, for I know I'll never find another you. There is always someone for each of us, they say, and you'll be my someone forever and a day. I could search the whole world over until my life is through, but I know I'll never find another you. It's a long, long journey, so stay by my side. When I walk through the storm, you'll be my guide, be my guide. If they gave me a fortune, my pleasure would be small. I could lose it all tomorrow and never mind at all. But if I should lose your love, dear, I don't know what I'd do, for I know I'll never find another you. But if I should lose your love, dear, I don't know what I'll do, for I know I'll never find another you, another you, another you.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore at Westfield State University, right here in the Ely Campus Center. Whether you're a student, faculty member, or friend of the university, it's the place to shop. Everything from Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise to all of your academic needs. Offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Visit the bookstore on campus or online at www.westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Support for community programming on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. Visit bettsplumbing.com or 14 Coleman Avenue, Westfield. Public welcome.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. Ken's Den, Tuesday, 8 to 10.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
7:49 on your Monday morning. George Delisle here with Amanda Brodkin and Pete Coles, wrapping things up today. So, we started out talking about the silly genetic testing, and that I found out I'm allegedly part Irish.
I don't know that it's silly. I
don't think it's silly.
I don't know.
Fred thought it was silly.
Yeah, Fred definitely.
Fred thinks everything is
issues
silly, so that's okay.
Well, it was an expense.
No. Well, it wasn't my expense.
I think we should pitch to the newspaper that Fred takes the 23andMe test for a story.
Oh.
What do you think he is?
I don't know. I'd like to find out.
Cynthia Simison, the managing editor, may very well be listening because she threatened to listen because Fred was on.
Okay.
So, Cynthia, story idea. Let's get Fred to test.
And then have 23andMe actually send a picture of his chromosome for the story.
That might be a little too much information.
It's just a chromosome. It's just
8.5 by 11 of his chromosomes. Why not?
I would pay for that. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
So George,
Fred is.
I love Fred.
Fred has one of the most understated senses of humor.
Yes.
It was so understated. I'm not sure I saw it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You have to. It's an acquired taste.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I can see the dry, very, very deeply layered angles there.
Well, Fred presents with this I won't call it a veneer because I think it's a little thicker than a veneer. It's more like some 2x4s nailed to the exterior.
Plywood, yes.
Yeah.
Let's call it a crust.
A crust. Crust is good. He's got a solid crust of cranky going there.
Yeah. But I've known Fred forever. I mean, like I ran into Fred when he was a Southwick fire photographer. I was brand new at Channel 40, and I introduced myself, and he goes, you know who I am, and I'm like, nope. And so we'd end up chatting because it was going to be a long duration scene, and that's how I got to know Fred. I've known Fred for nearly 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly 20 years.
I enjoyed our conversation this morning.
Fred is a good.
He said he was coming back. He enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that actually, that's the surprise of the day for me. As Fred said, "Let's do it again."
Yeah.
What?
Good. I'm glad he enjoyed it.
Well, I hope both of our listeners enjoyed it. Dan Knappik and Rusty.
I think they did. I think a lot of people will watch this one on the replay. Like Danny Nason texted me and said, I'm not going to be. I can't listen to it because I'm not going to be up in the control room because we're getting the plant ready for the season. But he goes, I'm definitely watching on YouTube when you post it. So
okay, good.
Because it's interesting. I mean, people think that news business is all this glamour, but it is and it isn't.
My father-in-law. I got to tell you this. My in-laws just moved back to this area from South Carolina. They've lived in Myrtle Beach for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're in their mid-80s. They've got a few medical problems, and they've realized that they kind of need to be near family because they do.
So they had no one down there?
They had no one down there. It's all up here. So, Gina and I, of course, are here. My brother-in-law, John, is in South Hadley. My other brother-in-law is up in New Hampshire. Another brother-in-law's in Northampton. So most of the kids are within. Yeah, they're within a few hours drive at the most.
Distance.
So they moved into the American Inn, and right now it's like a massive junk all over the bed is uncovered, but there's stuff
unpacking.
everywhere.
Yeah.
They're
Did they have to downsize considerably?
They had to downsize considerably.
Well,
really they went from a 2-bedroom house to a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, that's tough.
But my mother-in-law seems perfectly happy with the whole thing because now she doesn't have to cook and she doesn't want to cook.
Right.
So, dinner in the dining room and everything will be fine.
Going through the stuff too, it's always good to clean out a lot of junk.
Yes. They probably should have dumpsterized a lot more stuff down there than bringing it up here, but it is what it is. But I only bring this up because my father-in-law was never a journalist. But he was the editorial office manager for the Long Island Press.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. Before it went under, the press folded in 1977, and David Starr, who was the editor of the Long Island Press, then came to Springfield as the publisher of the Republican,
Right.
and he brought Jerry along as the purchasing manager. So Jerry had a 30-plus year career in the newspaper business, and he worked his entire life in the newspaper business. I mean, his whole career. Retired, my Lord, he retired almost 25 years ago. I mean, he retired at the age of 62, and the first thing he did when he got here was say, who do I have to call to start my subscription? Because he's got to have the newspaper.
No
so
kidding.
I'm sure he's on the phone this morning to our circulation, I keep saying that.
Yeah, I know,
it's
I
such a
noticed that.
habit. It's such a habit. He's on the phone to the
it's not a bad
circulation
habit.
department, arranging home delivery of the Republican 7 days a week and all that kind of good stuff. And I hope he's not too disappointed because the paper's a good deal thinner than it was when he left.
Yeah, it's almost like if you really want to read papers, you really need to read both the Republican and the Westfield News to kind of get both, all of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The full balance.
Yeah. Well, not balance, just all of it, because
The
Westfield's
coverage.
super local.
Yeah.
Right.
And Republican has to cover the whole valley.
Right. And the Westfield News doesn't. The Westfield
Right.
News is super local.
Right, and that's their niche.
So,
Yeah.
so
As
if
it
you
should be.
if you want to keep up on state stuff and regional things, then you have to read the Republican. So what the heck? He'll be and the thing is, my father-in-law takes great delight in causing problems for people who are still at the newspaper. So I warned several departments that he was coming back.
What kind of problems can a 87-year-old man who's
You'd
just
be-
moved into town cause for the newspaper?
He loves to argue about his pension, and he loves to argue about his insurance coverage, and he loves to.
Is he going to call for coverage? What are you?
No.
What are you
His
implying?
if he thinks something isn't right, he immediately calls the newspaper and demands to talk to the controller, and then yells at him. Yeah, he's good that way. He's.
So you gave him fair
You
warning?
haven't met Jerry
I
yet.
haven't met Jerry.
You will meet Jerry soon, and trust me, after you meet him, you're going to know
I'll
exactly what I'm
understand.
talking about.
Okay, what
Yeah.
are you saying? He's going to call the Republican and complain about these
Yes.
things,
'Cause that's where his pension's out of.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Jerry's been
Now I'm
gone for
following you.
25 years and doesn't understand why everybody in the building doesn't know who he is.
Right.
Okay.
see.
I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's
okay.
going to change, isn't it?
It's do you know who I am? No.
Do you
Should
care?
I care? Yeah. And my mother-in-law has the best eye roll of any human being I've ever met.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She's like, oh, my God.
She's like a teenage girl,
Yeah.
huh?
Maybe
Yeah.
you should have them in someday.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's a frightening. Maybe my mother-in-law. I'm not putting my father-in-law in front of a microphone.
We can record it.
Only with me out of the room.
I love documenting history.
Gina, my wife would have to take the show over that day because I'm not getting involved in that one.
Really?
Yeah.
I love good debates.
I love senior citizens, so this could be okay.
Well, okay. We'll take that under advisement.
All
But
right.
They have a nice little conference room we can use over there at the American Inn.
Yeah, they do. They do.
There you go. See, we can set up.
I tell you what, I'm really impressed by the place.
These communities are really good. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them all over the place. But yeah,
it's very nice. It looks very comfortable. The apartment looks great.
Yep.
They after when a new resident comes in, they basically gut the apartment. Everything's painted, brand new carpeting, new flooring in the bathrooms. It's really nice.
Yeah, when my wife's grandmother moved into Reed's Landing, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they it's like it's like a landlord having a new tenant move in. That's what it is.
If they're going to do
paint it
the
all
cooking for me, the rest of it is just gravy.
And the food's usually good. Yeah.
My daughter Denise went over there yesterday to have brunch with Grandma and Grandpa, and now she wants to move in.
I can't blame her, George.
Yeah.
There's a lot to
She
it.
said they had pie. She kept saying, but they had pie. It was pie. I love pie.
Did you deny her pie growing up?
No.
No?
We didn't deny them anything growing up, but I guess we underdid the pie.
guess
Apparently so, yeah.
I don't know. Pie day just went by. Maybe it was just a carryover.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, that must be it.
I got a
You're
newspaper
onto
song you missed to go out.
Okay.
Ready?
All right. Yeah, so we're done. Thanks,
We're
everybody.
done.
See you next Monday, and I
Have a
have
great
no
one.
idea what that'll be. Bye-bye now.